So welcome to A Word Pictured, iShoot's new series exploring the iconic stories that shaped our collective imagination. Make sure to be comfortable because in this first episode we're going to see music through the eyes of the photographer who defined its look with a single click. 4 eras, 4 genres, 4 ways photography taught the world what jazz, folk, rock, and hip-hop look like. Plus, a special extra tied to one of these stories, so stick around to catch it.
From smoky jazz clubs like New York's Birdland to the muddy fields of Woodstock, from backstage corridors to the boulevards where rap was born, these images didn't just document music, they turned it into our shared memory. Let's start with the shots that bottle the electricity of the most beloved genre of all, rock, where excess is an aesthetic.
There are photos you recognize, even if you couldn't name the hand that took them. Jim Marshall. Marshall moved like a very special bandmate, with his instrument of choice, a Leica. Think of the rock moments that made history. He was there, pointer finger poised on the shutter. He was there when Hendrix set the legendary Fender Stratocaster, a symbol of capitalism, on fire at the Monterey Pop, giving the world a tight, flame-lit portrait that felt almost cathartic. He photographed Johnny Cash's iconic flip to the camera, a pure act of rebellion, and a sea of humanity for the Grateful Dead. And he captured the playful intimacy of Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin in one of their most famous portraits together. His photographs from the Rolling Stones' 1972 tour became exhibitions and books, on-stage energy, backstage intimacy, rock as something human and unfiltered. It wasn't luck, it was trust, earned and fiercely protected. Marshall widened the frame, not just stage, but lives in motion before and after the performance. In 2014, 4 years after he passed, the Recording Academy honored him with the Grammy Trustees Award, a very rare recognition for a photographer. And keep that in mind, we'll come back to it at the end. His assistant, Amelia, told CNN about his nickname. He was known as the godfather of rock photography. The rock aesthetic is impressed into Marshall's negatives, like a multi-platinum record, loud, alive, and personal.
Then comes a culture that doesn't ask permission. It invents its own rules of style, language, and attitude. Hip-hop reframes the shot and the stakes and crystallizes into a massive archive shot by a single hand. Want to know whose? Stick with us. For many, he's simply Brother Ernie. Photographer Ernie Paniccioli didn't start from straight street or documentary photography. He began with graffiti walls, then became the community's go-to eye as hip-hop exploded. Chief photographer for Word Up magazine in the late 80s and 90s, making portraits that feel like stoop-side conversation. His sitters were kids who would become legends. LL Cool, Run DMC, Public Enemy, Queen Latifah, Tupac, Biggie, and yes, even a few nods to pop music with Beyoncé. Most of hip-hop's greats passed through his viewfinder. Today, his archive counts nearly 20,000 digitized images in the Cornell Hip Hop Collection, selected from over 100,000. Music, fashion, so many different styles, jewelry, neighborhoods, all condensed into a time capsule. This is hip-hop's full ecosystem in bloom. Institutions took notice. His work has been shown at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with the Roots Rhyme and Rage exhibition and the Brooklyn Museum with the Hip Hop Nation exhibition. The message is clear. These aren't just artist portraits, they're documents of a community. Ernie Paniccioli built a monumental archive with a fraternal, family-style approach, hip-hop's look in its truest form.
If you're enjoying the ride, drop a like and tell us in the comment which story has hit you the hardest so far. And if you just found us, keep watching and tap subscribe so you don't miss what's next. If Paniccioli captured the most irreverent culture of them all, now let's do a little time wrap and go back to the origins of contemporary music. Before stadium lights, you had a spotlight and a speed graphic. Between 1930 and 1948, William P. Gottlieb built jazz iconography. Think Billie Holidays, Thelonious Monk, Dizzy Gillespie, with just a handful of frames per set. Every image is a refrain, challenging the joy and ease of a genre that became a pillar of the music we know today. A decade later, Magnum photographer Dennis Stock took jazz back to the streets. With his Jazz Street series, taken between 1957 and 1960s, he framed sidewalks, neon, and smoke, not just the musicians, but the air around them, because the environment is crucial to the creative process. Stock's picture bridged the stage and the audience, glamour, and the everyday life. Staying with Magnum, jazz also had Guy Querrec's vision. He loves the genre so much, he says, he's not a photographer of jazz, but a jazz photographer. Translation: pure improvisation, theme, variation, surprise. The rhythm enters the frame and fills it. 3 viewpoints, 1 canon. Jazz became image, intimate, human, and little mysterious. Photography keeps time for memory.
From tight little jazz clubs, we plunge into the biggest crowd America had ever seen, at least until 1969. And you know exactly what moment we're talking about. We saved it for last because we wanted a finale that explodes, like the roar or the crowd at those first notes. Recap. Same urge to tell the truth of a musical revolution, but on a vastly expanded scale. Welcome to the era of counterculture. Elliott Landy is above all the official photographer of Woodstock 69, the biggest music festival documented at the time. Turning fields, scaffolding, and a sea of faces awash in unique emotion into the festival's collective memory. His access to the most wanted backstage in music history was quiet and trusted, giving us some of the era's most iconic images of its elite, spontaneous moments that feel like they were lived in wet grass, even by those about to step on stage and make history. The line between artist and audience narrows into one big communal embrace. He also experimented with infrared film, a surreal palette that mirrors the hippie idealism of the moment. Books and international exhibitions seal those pictures as the visual testimony of an era. Landy turned the crowd into one large family, united by a single embrace: music and freedom.
And as promised, a little extra for you, because Jim Marshall is a photographer of records. Remember the posthumous Grammy Trustees Award in 2014? We said it's a very rare honor for photographers. And not only he was the first, he was the only one to receive it.
And speaking of records, Jim Marshall was the only photographer with backstage access at the Beatles' final concert, Candlestick Park, August 29, 1966. Those photos from the arrival at SFO to the walk to the stage capture the emotions of the Fab Four's farewell to touring from the inside.
4 eras, 4 visual journeys. Marshall's trust gives rock a human face. Paniccioli builds a public archive so hip-hop can own its image. Gottlieb's restraint becomes jazz memory, and Landy's apathy turned a field into a family. We don't just listen to music, we inherit how it looks.
Which of these iconic images we explore was already living rent-free in your head? Tell us in the comments, and why. If this trip sharpened your eye, subscribe for more deep dives into visual culture and support independent publishers like iShot. The more you back us up, the more stories we can share. Because they took the photos, but we tell you the stories that bring them to life. See you next episode.